It was my dream tonight. I was doing accounts for this company, but it looks like I didn't do it properly. There was some leftover work that I need to do. So the boss called me, and at the beginning I was a bit fearful whether I know how to sort out the problem that I have cast to the company. But it seems it was easy. Once I went into the company and I tried out the bookkeeping entries, everything turned out well. All that is required of me is to make sure that I continue and proceed with the double entry. And that was all that's required to fulfill the requirements of the boss of the company. So he was quite happy in the sense that I fulfilled the work for him, the leftover work. And then he asked me if I want to continue with the company. And this is where I told him, I said, yeah, but I don't want to, because I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to spend my life just doing work for somebody. I want to be by myself. I want to be happy. So the boss replied and said, it's okay. Then, but interestingly, of course, at that moment, actually, I was kind of a soldier and he's a commander. So I was asking him permission to be dismissed. Yeah, but at that moment, of course, I noticed that my presence was already very much awakened. But I'm not fully in the awake state, but I'm moving up to the awakeness. So he gave a command, and I'm happy to hear the command, and then I left the company. Now, as I think back of the dream, in order to interpret it, I noticed that I was waiting for the command, and he gave the command dismissed. And so I performed the required action of dismissing myself, because I'm, of course, a soldier and there is a commander. But I was listening to the voice, the command, dismissed. Then I was satisfied, and then I dismissed myself. That's the interesting part of the dream. One thing is clear about the interpretation of this dream is that bookkeeping entries, the debit and the credit, can satisfy the boss. That's right. The world's requirement in space-time is satisfied if I fully balance it with debits and credits, with yin and yang. But the dismissal or to come out of space-time is not fully satisfied as yet until I hear the command. Only after hearing the command and then I execute the command did I feel satisfied and I dismiss myself. So that's interesting, right? So what does it mean? It means that whatever the world is asking me to do, I should do it. I should not owe anything to the world, right? Because there should be no debt towards space-time. I should clear good and evil and balance it all fully before I could leave space-time, before I could release myself from space-time. But entry into the breath requires one more action. It requires that I hear the voice, the breath itself, and be the breath myself. For otherwise, I'm not satisfied. That's what the dream, I felt it. I was not satisfied until I hear the command, dismiss. Then I could dismiss myself. The dream is also saying something very important. The command, the voice, is necessary to dismiss self. While hearing the command, dismiss, I find myself happy to dismiss my self. Self-removal requires the hearing of the voice. And why? Because that self which I'm trying to remove is not the true I am, but rather the self created by a thought, the idea of me. That idea of me has to be removed altogether. And it can be removed only when I hear the command, the voice itself. Only upon hearing the voice within me, that thought can be finally removed. Friends of mine are to tell me that, oh, the way to enter into that blissful state is to have no thoughts. But I kept on saying, you cannot enter into a no thought zone because you're always in a thought. I mean, that's how you experience life. That's how you experience the space-time. So this dream is actually trying to tell me, yes, you cannot remove thoughts until you experience the breath. Because the breath has to replace the thought. Because the breath is where you can live without thoughts. There is no other way. It's so interesting is that behind or beneath or the substance of all thought is actually breath. You can't live without thoughts, but you can transform or can go to a deeper place within the thought, which is breath, and live in that breath. With matter. Now, we have to think in terms of matter, right? Yes, but for science, because we have instruments, we can go into the matter itself and look at the interior of the matter and see the energy forces that are in the matter, right? Yes, but so in other words, we either see matter or we measure energy. But we cannot possibly throw away matter. We have to get the matter, and then after that go inside the matter itself to discover the energy forces. We cannot throw away thoughts, because thoughts are necessary. But while we are watching at the thought, we are trying to enter into the breath, which is the substance of the thought itself. And that's how we can live in the breath, and not just merely at the level of thoughts. When a person lives at the level of thoughts, he is living at a level where he engages with other people via matter. So you see physicality everywhere, and you're engaging in that person through physicality. Now, this is not an easy thing, definitely, of course, because when you're dealing with physical person, you receive a lot of what you call anti-thoughts, anti-actions, etc. You have to wait for that guy's approval, but not when you enter breath. When you enter breath, when you enter into the place of breath, which is at the substance of thought, something else takes place. At the breath, something else takes place. That's the power in the breath. In the very same way that in order to affect the quantum world, we have to enter the mechanics of energy. We cannot deal with the computer at the level of light. We need to deal with the computer at the level of the quantum forces. Jesus meant when he said, ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. At each different level of request, there are different oppositions and states. Yes. But there is a request that can be just merely be not the result of knocking, but just simply asking. And how do you do that? Well, that is breath.